So, what is going on, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Legacy United Star Raiders Cannonball. And Cannonball here is a heavy remold of Skids and a slight remold of Crankcase. And also a pre-paint to Cybertron Red Alert. I don't know. He's a guy. He's a guy who was in the Cybertron toy line, who was a repaint, because they always did, like, the weird Decepticon version of whoever, and he was a repaint of Red Alert, and they decided to do him first, which I'm not opposed to. I like that they picked a weirdo again. I love when they do this. They pick a random guy, and here he is, just a random guy who has some weird stuff. I made a short about it, but we'll talk about it in a second here. But there's a lot of connections with Crankcase with this very version, the Cybertron Red Alert. So there's a lot of connections there, and you might already know what it is. As far as it goes, that's not the big thing in the room. This thing is made of gold plastic, which is spooky. This thing is not going to be fun in a couple of years. I've just got to say that right now. As you can see, the hips, the knee joints, the arms in its entirety, including the arm joints, they're covered with the charcoal, but the inner arm joint itself is gold, and it's marbled gold, which is the stuff that breaks constantly. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. You might be a rarity in a good couple of years there, buddy. Which, yeah, it kind of sucks, because he's kind of good. I love the Skids mold. I actually really like that mold. I own all three versions of it now. And by all three, I mean, I know there's the repaints, but I don't really care about the repaints, if I'm being honest. I wanted to own each version of it. You know what I mean? There's the black version of Skids, is it Afterburn? Then there's Medics, and then there's this guy now. As far as it goes, looks pretty cool. He has a Cyberplanet key, which we'll talk about the accessories. And, I mean, from the back, it's the same thing. He has this giant backpack, but that's technically accurate to Crankcase and him. So, no issues there. And, I mean, as far as it would go, the legs are a bit bare, I will say. There is some color separation, obviously, the thighs being gold and this being charcoal. There's some paint down here. But for the most part, they probably could have used some gold paint or some silver down here. I think on the shins would have looked better. Even the arms have the same thing where it's just gold. At least the hands are black to break it up. He also has this new peg hand, which is accurate to this version of the character. Red Alert and Cybertron does have this little peg thing, and he has little tiny parts that go on it that stow in the legs. Ah, they stow. And they stow quite nicely. You can just put them in there however you please. I put them on whatever side, but they just go in there. I'm not even sure if that was intentional. I'm guessing it was, because they actually slot in there really well. And it's just enough room on either side about it. The hammer does not like to come out, though. The hammer is not fun. There we go. Probably break the thing before getting the hammer out. But, so you do have the little claw hand, which does have the typical port on the back. You can peg it on the back of the legs if you like. The hammer, same thing. Pegs on the top of it, and you just kind of slot it in. Like so. There's technically a bunch of ports on this thing, so you don't have to put it right there. You could move it forward as well, I believe, which is nice. And also with that part, I don't know where my blast effect went. There it is. I found it. I was trying to find that. There we are. Yeah, they're just blast effects. That's basically what those are. This is technically, I guess, a gun, if you'd like. So, blast effect hand. Why not? It's just a peg, whatever you want to do with it. And again, to stow these, you just flip it and slide them in like so. Pretty easy stuff. Really nice. Real nice to keep that gimmick going. Of course, his other accessory is the planet key, which is an earth key this time. It's a new key again, but it's not blue like it should be. It's black. Pure black plastic. The first one not to be translucent out of the three that I own. I think I now own all of the Cybertron reissue figures, well, not all of them, because I don't own the old Hotshot, and I don't own Cybertron Optimus from Siege, but I do own Override, so I'm going to say that. I mean, like, all of the genuine new molds, not just, you know, repainted guys. Are supposed to be guys. And there we have it. That looks pretty good. You see the inside's there. Planet key port is actually removable as well, because in the box, you do get this as a severed section. So if I can get this off here, it kind of pegs on, which is nice. There they are. Pretty good stuff. Nothing bad. But as far as it goes, that's basically that. So let's look at the transformation. not transformation, the articulation, sorry, is a ball joint in the head, but he does still have that giant panel that this mold typically has. Forward and back, outward, swivel, elbow. He does have wrist rotation, but I'm using the left hand, so you can't really see. But yes, there is a swivel. Waist swivel, forward, back, outward, rotation, knee joint, which goes there. It's a bit weird. I feel like it should be up higher, but it's not. It's right there. And, of course, ankle tilt. So, yeah, pretty standard deluxe articulation at this point in time. And that's basically that. So let's get into the transformation, which, yeah, if you own this figure, it's pretty solid. I think the crankcase version is genuinely better than Skid's. So let's just get into this. So the first thing I'm going to do is come to the chest and kind of start to undo the back section a little bit. Take the chest, fold it up. Take the arms, fold them around like so. So take them, rotate them out. So make sure the fists are pointing out, or the fist, sorry, the port pointing towards the doors. They are faux. Yes, faux parts. Oh no, the end of the world for some. Not to me, though. Bend him forward and then take the whole waist joint. That just goes upward and kind of pegs in very loosely on this one. It was very bad on Skid's, but as the figure got redone, it kept getting easier and easier. And now for this one, not that hard at all. Anyway, once you have that all done up and ready to go, you just got to get everything into place here. There we are. The arm, that pegs in like so. And then take this. Okay, this is the issue again. The guns. The guns are weird. Back there, I didn't really point them out, really, did I? But they're there. It's more of a crankcase alumni thing. Technically, it's his Planet Key gimmick from his original toy. But we'll get to that towards the end of the video. At least I'll try. I have a whole short up on it if I do forget about it. If you want to check it out. The whole weird history between this guy and Crankcase. But basically, this transformation. I like this transformation for the most part. It is pretty simple, easy stuff. It's nothing bad. Skid's, to me, like I said, is the worst one. This guy has, like, the worst pegging in points, though. Takes a random ton of effort to get everything to go in correctly. Like the top sections here. There we go. Anyway, we'll get this lined up here and fixed up. And so here we have Cannonball's alt form, which is pretty nice actually and kind of unique. Again, it is the Cybertron Red Alert look, as is what it's going for, but it has the very unique skulls on the side along with a nice gold trim, though this is definitely very much a different color gold because it's molded gold and not painted. I mean, as far as it goes, it looks pretty good. The legs are still blatantly just crankcase parts, but at least this part looks different. And Planet Key up here, again, removable, not a static thing or anything. It's along with the port. The port's also an add-on section, so nothing really too special there. But it just looks nice. There's something about it. And again, it's usually a pretty meh roller, unfortunately, but they did do a pretty decent job on paint, at least on the front end. Sadly, the back end is barren. It looks really bad back there, in my opinion, with the change to gold all of the sudden. I don't know why the knees had to be gold, if I'm being honest. They probably should have just made them a different color. You can't see them. I get making the thigh part, but the knee joint probably shouldn't have been gold, because it just makes this look weird. If not, just paint the roof. I don't know. There's got to be some paint somewhere, right? Could have done something to it. But as far as it goes, that is the alt form. It's just a pretty nice little squat buggy guy. But anyway, let's just get to my final thoughts. As far as it goes for him, it's the Skids mold. If you've owned the Skids or a Crankcase, you know what you're getting from this guy. I'm just going to say that right now. You know exactly what you are getting. You are not getting anything different. It is slightly different, I guess. I shouldn't say anything. It's a little different. But transformation-wise, articulation, everything, it's basically just different in looks. Crankcase and Skids are like two different things. Like, they're clearly very different. This guy is more similar to Crankcase than Skids, though. I'm just going to say that right now. So if you own Crankcase, you know what you're getting. Skids, you might be a little bit like, oh, it's a little bit different. You know, there's a couple, like, sizable differences. But for the most part, yes, it's a lot like Crankcase, which is how it should be, because just to explain what I was saying throughout the video of it being similar to Crankcase and having a weird tie to him. So this guy here, being remolded from Crankcase, is a weird thing that goes back to 2007, where in the movie line, they released a Crankcase who was a repaint of the original Cybertron Red Alert figure, which, of course, this guy was also a repaint of. Which, it's just kind of odd that 16 years later, they would come in, have a new Crankcase, which is still crazy, because it's Crankcase. Who thought he'd get a new mold? It's not a new mold, it's remold, but still... Who would have thought he had a figure kicking about? And then let's remold Crankcase into him, because they had this similar gimmick with the guns, where when the planet key gets plugged in, it flips over the shoulders. And Crankcase's original G1 gimmick was he'd have a little button, they press, and then the guns would flip out over his shoulders. So that's why they kept that. It's kind of a cool little nod. It's a weird little Easter egg, and you kind of have to know the history of it, because I feel like not everyone's going to know that or possibly even notice it. It's just a weird little thing you can see. And again, I like this figure a lot. Is it a 5 out of 5? Not really. I have my doubts with it. I really do. That gold plastic. Everything else is fine. He does like to pop apart a lot, though. So I'm going to give him a nice 4. Give him a nice 4. Because he is good. He is really nice. And I would recommend him if you can find him. My Walmart had a ton of these things. They sold out. They still had a Filch and a Road Pig. And I wanted to get Road Pig. But then I was like, there's only one of him. And there was 2 Road Pigs, and there was 1 Filch as well, and I was like, I'm just going to go hide a Road Pig and a Filch, and that's what I did, and I took him with me. But as far as it goes, he's nice, he's cool. There's not really a ton wrong with the guy. He's a nice guy. If you can get him, especially if you don't have this mold. I feel like this is a pretty standard mold that I feel like most people should own. He's pretty good. But that's really all for this review. This has been a review of Legacy United Cannonball. It's been the Elite signing.